Silence inside the palace can sometimes say more than anger ever could. When photographs reportedly reached Prince William, his reaction was said to be unusually quiet. The story surrounding those images involved a private family reception, an invitation carrying a royal-style emblem, dozens of influential guests, and questions about whether someone had crossed a boundary that the palace had already made clear. At the center of the controversy was Laura Lopes, Camilla's daughter from her first marriage. According to the storyline surrounding the event, a private art reception had been planned, but palace officials had placed strict limits on how the gathering could be presented. The event was not supposed to suggest official royal approval, and royal insignia was reportedly not permitted on the invitations. Then something changed. An invitation appeared carrying a small crown-like emblem above Laura's name. Beneath it were words that appeared to suggest royal permission. If genuine, that wording could make a private family event look officially connected to the crown. That was where the situation reportedly became serious. The original invitation had apparently been much simpler. It did not use royal symbols or language suggesting palace approval. But a later version looked very different. The change raised an obvious question. Who had authorized it? The palace had reportedly already warned the organizers that the event could not be presented as an official royal function. So why would anyone create an invitation that appeared to say otherwise? The answer, at least according to this dramatic account, was not immediately clear. What made matters worse was the timing. The warning had reportedly been sent shortly before preparations accelerated. Staff believed the instructions had been received, yet no clear response came back. Then vehicles arrived carrying equipment, decorations, hospitality supplies, and other materials for the reception. Some paperwork allegedly described the delivery as a private family matter connected to the Queen's household. That wording created confusion. Inside a royal residence, descriptions matter. A private family delivery is treated differently from a commercial event. An official royal function follows another process entirely. The difference may seem small to an outsider, but within the palace system, those categories can determine who receives access and who does not. Then an invitation was discovered. It contained the disputed royal-style symbol. Staff reportedly realized that the design was not simply decorative. It could be interpreted as a sign of royal endorsement. The issue soon reached William, and according to the storyline, the future king did not treat it as a harmless family misunderstanding. He wanted the facts. Who approved the design? Who authorized the event? Who allowed the deliveries through? And most importantly, who had given permission to use royal imagery? The answers were not immediately available. That uncertainty made the situation worse. The reception was reportedly halted, but the story did not end there. Laura had apparently arrived at the residence with a folder containing event documents. She was told that the reception could not continue under the existing arrangements. Instead of creating a public confrontation, she reportedly produced a document that appeared to grant her permission to proceed. The staff member reviewing it became uncertain. The wording seemed official, but nobody could immediately confirm who had signed it. That single piece of paper suddenly became more important than the reception itself. If the authorization was legitimate, then the cancellation might have been based on incomplete information. If it was not legitimate, then someone had used royal authority without permission. William wanted the document examined, but according to the account, the paper could not be found when staff tried to obtain a copy. That changed the mood completely. A missing document is one problem. A missing document that may have been used to bypass palace instructions is another. William reportedly ordered staff to review access records, communications, security information, and the correspondence connected to the event. The focus moved away from the art reception. Now it was about authority. Who could speak for the palace? Who could approve private events? And could a member of the extended royal family use the Queen's household to create the appearance of official support? The matter quickly became personal when Camilla learned what was happening. She was reportedly upset that her daughter had been questioned so closely. From her perspective, the situation involved a private family gathering that had suddenly been treated like a major security problem. William saw it differently. He was not interested in whether Laura was family. He wanted to know whether palace procedures had been bypassed. That difference in perspective became the central conflict. Camilla reportedly argued that Laura should not be treated as though she had deliberately committed a serious offense. William's position was more direct. If the paperwork was genuine, it needed to be verified. If it was not genuine, someone needed to explain why it existed. The discussion became tense. Then another detail reportedly emerged. A property lawyer had appeared on the guest list. That might not have meant anything by itself. Wealthy guests often attend private art events, and legal advisors can have many reasons for being present. But William wanted to know why this particular lawyer had been invited. The lawyer's professional background reportedly included trusts, estates, charitable structures, and valuable collections. Suddenly, the event looked more complicated. William examined the guest list. There were dozens of names: gallery figures, private patrons, business leaders, people with significant influence. If the event were presented as officially connected to the royal family, the presence of such guests could create a very different impression from an ordinary private reception. Then William reportedly entered the room where preparations had been taking place. Several artworks had been displayed. Most had clear ownership information, but one painting appeared different. Its label reportedly referred to a private royal collection. That description immediately raised questions. Royal artworks are not normally treated like ordinary personal possessions. Their movement, storage, insurance, and display can involve strict procedures. So how had this particular painting reached the event? Nobody appeared to have a simple answer. The organizers reportedly claimed they had received it as part of the approved delivery. The Queen's household, however, allegedly denied sending it. Now there were conflicting explanations, and William wanted to know who was telling the truth. The painting itself became the center of the investigation. A valuation label was reportedly discovered on the frame. That detail was particularly troubling because it suggested someone may have been assessing the artwork's financial value. Why would anyone need a valuation during a private reception? Was the painting simply being displayed? Was ownership being discussed? Or was something larger happening behind the scenes? William reportedly ordered that the artwork remain where it was until its ownership could be established. The event was no longer treated as an ordinary family gathering. Then Laura allegedly offered another explanation. She claimed the painting had been given privately to Camilla. If that were true, the situation could be completely different. But there was an immediate question. Who had given it to her? The answer reportedly pointed toward Charles. That changed the atmosphere. If the king had personally gifted the artwork, there could be an argument over whether it had become a private asset. If he had not, then the painting could still belong within the broader royal collection or another formal arrangement. William reportedly requested that Charles be brought into the discussion. Camilla was said to be uncomfortable with that idea. She reportedly believed the disagreement was becoming unnecessarily serious. William disagreed. For him, this was no longer about a single painting. It was about the rules surrounding royal property and authority. Then the mysterious folder became important again. Laura's folder reportedly contained event schedules, guest information, invoices, insurance papers, and other documents. But the disputed authorization was missing. As the contents were reviewed, another document reportedly appeared. It described a proposed cultural initiative involving private events and members of Camilla's family. According to the dramatic account, the reception was connected to a much larger plan. The proposal appeared to suggest that similar events could take place in royal settings in the future, with private guests, cultural organizations, and wealthy supporters. If accurate, this would explain why the invitation carried such importance. The royal-style symbol may not have been added simply for decoration. It could have been intended to establish a recognizable connection between the initiative and the monarchy. That was precisely what William would have wanted to prevent. A private family project cannot automatically become an official royal operation simply because a royal household is involved. The distinction is critical. Private does not mean official, family does not mean institutional, and access to a royal residence does not automatically create royal endorsement. Then Charles reportedly arrived. The king saw the documents, he saw the painting, and according to the story, he recognized it immediately. William asked the question directly: had Charles given the painting to Camilla? The answer was reportedly no. That response created another mystery. If Charles had not formally transferred ownership, why was the painting being presented as though it belonged to Camilla? The investigation now had several separate questions. Who created the invitation? Who produced the authorization? Who arranged the artwork? Why was a valuation made? And why was a lawyer specializing in trusts included among the guests? Then Charles reportedly produced paperwork relating to a future trust arrangement involving certain royal assets. The documents allegedly indicated that the painting had been considered for a formal trust intended to protect assets for future generations. That detail would explain why William reacted so strongly. If the painting was part of a planned trust, displaying it as a private family possession could create confusion over its status. But confusion is not the same as legal transfer. That distinction became critical. Camilla reportedly maintained that Charles had once promised the painting to her privately. She produced an old handwritten note that appeared to contain affectionate words about the artwork eventually becoming hers. It sounded meaningful, but was it legally binding? That was the question. William reportedly saw the note differently from Camilla. To Camilla, it represented Charles's personal promise. To William, it could not automatically override formal legal documents. The issue therefore moved from emotion to law. A personal promise might carry enormous emotional weight, but ownership of valuable property generally depends on formal arrangements, not simply affectionate language. A lawyer was reportedly asked to clarify the matter. The conclusion in the storyline was straightforward. The old note could demonstrate intention or affection, but it did not necessarily establish legal ownership. The formal documentation would matter more. That left the painting secured while the dispute continued. But William still had another question. Who created the unauthorized royal document? The search reportedly expanded. Staff examined communication records and printer logs. Deleted messages were reviewed. Eventually, investigators allegedly traced the document to Camilla's private office. But there was another surprise. Camilla had not signed it. Laura had not signed it. Instead, the signature reportedly belonged to a senior advisor connected to Camilla's household. The advisor was brought in for questioning. According to the account, she admitted creating the document and helping prepare the invitation. Her explanation was unexpected. She claimed she had been trying to protect Camilla. She believed William's growing influence could eventually reduce Camilla's family connections to the monarchy. In her view, the cultural initiative was a way to preserve Camilla's position and create stronger relationships between her family and influential members of British society. She reportedly believed that if the initiative became established, it would be difficult for anyone to remove. That reasoning, however, created an even larger problem. The advisor had taken actions in the name of the Queen's household without proper authorization. She had used royal imagery. She had allegedly helped create documents that appeared official. She had allowed a private event to look more closely connected to the monarchy than it really was. Even if her intention was loyalty, the method was dangerous. Laura, according to the account, may have been less involved than the first impression suggested. She had apparently been told that the event was approved. She believed the paperwork she received was legitimate. She also believed the artwork had been transferred properly. If that was true, then Laura had not created the scheme. She had simply acted on information given to her. But that did not remove the problem. She had still entered a restricted royal setting with disputed authorization. The event had still carried an unauthorized royal symbol, and the painting had still been displayed under unclear ownership. Charles reportedly dismissed the advisor. The invitations were destroyed. The event was canceled. The artwork was secured. On the surface, the crisis appeared to be over. But the emotional conflict was just beginning. Camilla reportedly demanded that her daughter receive an apology. She believed the investigation had gone too far. William refused to treat the matter as merely a family misunderstanding. His argument was that royal rules must apply regardless of personal relationships. That response reportedly angered Camilla. She believed William was using the incident to establish dominance before becoming king. William reportedly rejected that interpretation. He said the issue was not about Camilla's family. It was about protecting the authority of the crown. That phrase changed the atmosphere, because Charles suddenly found himself caught between them. He had spent years trying to maintain harmony between his household and the wider family. But this incident exposed the weakness of avoiding clear boundaries. If everyone believed they had some form of special access, confusion was inevitable. Charles now had to confront a problem that had been building quietly. He could not allow personal promises, family relationships, or informal arrangements to determine official authority. The monarchy required clear rules, yet those rules had to exist without making family members feel like outsiders. That balance was proving almost impossible. Then came another unexpected discovery. The guest list contained one name that had apparently been added by hand. William reportedly studied the writing. It did not appear to belong to Laura. It did not appear to belong to Camilla's advisor. Then Charles reportedly recognized it. The handwriting was his. That changed the entire story. Charles had apparently known about the proposed event earlier than he had admitted. He had not necessarily authorized the controversial parts. He had not necessarily approved the use of royal imagery. But he had known the wider idea existed. He had even reportedly suggested that legal advice might be needed. Then the plan became controversial, and Charles stepped back. That left palace staff to stop the event without fully understanding the king's earlier involvement. Camilla felt betrayed. William felt that the lack of leadership had created the crisis. Charles was forced to face an uncomfortable truth. His attempt to avoid confrontation had allowed other people to make assumptions. And those assumptions had eventually produced a situation none of them could control. William reportedly placed the guest list in front of his father. The message was simple. This could have been stopped earlier. Charles did not appear to have an easy answer. The king reportedly looked at the documents surrounding him. The disputed invitation, the missing authorization, the artwork, the old handwritten note, the proposed cultural initiative. Each piece represented a different part of the same problem. The palace had failed to draw a clear line between private family activity and royal authority, and now everyone was paying the price. Charles reportedly took a pen and marked through the proposed initiative. Then he established a much clearer principle. Private family members could not act as though they possessed royal authority simply because of their connection to the crown. That principle was bigger than Laura. It was bigger than Camilla, and it was even bigger than William. It applied to everyone. The crown could not operate through informal assumptions. If an event was private, it had to remain private. If an activity was official, it needed proper authorization. If an asset belonged to a trust, its status could not be changed by personal promises. And if royal symbols were used, the permission had to be real. That was the lesson the entire episode appeared to expose. Yet one question remained. Why had the boundaries become so unclear in the first place? Charles had wanted harmony. Camilla had wanted to protect her family. William had wanted stronger rules. Laura had reportedly trusted the people around her, and an advisor had attempted to act on what she believed was loyalty. Every person had a different motivation. Together, those motivations created chaos. That is what makes palace disputes so difficult. They are rarely about one event. They are usually about years of relationships, expectations, fears, and assumptions coming together at the worst possible moment. William's reaction was therefore not simply about a painting. It was about what the painting represented. The invitation was not merely paper. It represented the possibility of private people using royal imagery to create authority. The missing document was not merely a missing sheet. It represented uncertainty over who had the right to give orders. The guest list was not simply a list of names. It showed how quickly a private event could become influential when wealthy and powerful people believed the monarchy supported it. And the proposed cultural initiative was not merely an art project. It represented a possible new network operating alongside the formal royal structure. That was the part William reportedly found most troubling. A monarchy depends on clear authority. If too many unofficial channels develop, the institution becomes vulnerable to confusion. Who speaks for the king? Who speaks for the queen? Who speaks for the future king? And who is simply acting as a private family member? Those questions may sound technical. Inside the palace, they can determine everything. Camilla was left facing a difficult reality. Her family could remain close to the monarchy, but closeness did not automatically create authority. Laura could attend events. She could support cultural causes. She could build her own professional life, but she could not use royal symbols or palace authority without permission. Camilla could continue her public work. She could maintain selected patronages, but her household could not create a parallel royal structure. William, meanwhile, learned that enforcing rules could create another kind of danger. If he appeared too aggressive, the public might believe he was targeting Camilla personally. If he remained silent, the same confusion could return. The future king therefore faced a delicate challenge. He had to protect institutional boundaries without turning every family disagreement into a public confrontation. Charles faced the hardest challenge of all. He had to admit that his desire to keep peace had contributed to the confusion. By trying to avoid choosing between his wife and his son, he had allowed the space between them to grow. And when the crisis finally arrived, everyone had a different idea of what his authority meant. The solution was not another argument. It was clarity, clear permissions, clear ownership, clear responsibilities, clear boundaries. That may sound simple, but inside a royal family, clarity can be surprisingly difficult. Personal relationships often overlap with official duties. A family member may also be a public figure. A private event may happen inside a royal residence. A personal promise may involve an asset connected to the crown. Ultimately, the Windsor controversy exposed one simple truth: being close to the crown does not mean having royal authority. The invitation, missing document, and disputed painting raised serious questions about who could speak for the monarchy. William reportedly saw the deeper danger. He was not just reacting to one event, he was thinking about the institution he may one day inherit. Charles faced a painful choice between family peace and royal duty, while Camilla had to accept that personal relationships could not replace palace rules. The crisis ended with clearer boundaries. Charles remained the final authority, William pushed for stronger procedures, and Camilla retained her role but lost some influence over unofficial family activities. In the end, the real issue was never the invitation or painting. It was power, trust, and one crucial question: who actually had permission? Once that answer became unclear, everything changed.